Banfield starts now with Jesse Weber filling in tonight. See you tomorrow.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Jesse Weber in for Ashleigh. Tonight, it is a departure from the usual Banfield fare. Most nights, we hit you with a big ongoing trial update or the very latest on a mysterious true crime case. That's our brand. But tonight, no brand. No mystery, just an American family's sudden drop into a place of absolute agony. And what I'm about to say is going to rattle any family. A 10-year-old boy is dead. It happened just a few days ago in Indiana, and how that boy died is what we're going to focus on first tonight. Because this is that boy, Sammy Tey, took his own life on a Sunday morning, May 5th, in his hometown, in his own home. People who knew what he was going through say other kids drove Sammy to do it. They pushed him. They physically tormented him. They bullied him. Well, tonight, Sammy's brother, will join me right here live. Sammy's dad does not want anyone else to experience what this family went through, does not want anyone else to experience what his son did. He and his son are going to be speaking with us through their heartache, so I want you to stick around for that. Also, an incredibly wealthy man with a little black book full of modeling agencies. He uses as his own personal hunting ground for underage girls. He flies them to his personal island, assaults them. It's a pretty good description of the accusations made against Jeffrey Epstein, right? Well, now, similar allegations are being made against magician David Copperfield. More of his 16 accusers are sharing their stories, full details tonight. But like I said, I want to start with Sammy Tey. I want you to remember this name. A little boy, described by his loved ones as smart, funny, spontaneous, mischievous, sensitive, playful, loves animals, always grinning, always laughing, happy kid, good kid. Just turned 10 years old. Lived with his parents, his 3 older siblings, not far from Indianapolis. That was Sammy Tey. But something bad crept into Sammy's life at school that this 4th grader found impossible to get a handle on. His parents knew about it. His teachers definitely knew about it. It was other kids who would go after Sammy and make fun of his glasses and the way his teeth looked, and they would sometimes do worse, physically. Sammy's parents say these bullies would beat up their son on the bus or in the boys' room at school. They would break his stuff. It started last year. His mom and dad said it just got worse, and it affected Sammy, who became more and more withdrawn. 2 Sundays ago, 10-year-old Sammy Tey took his own life at his home in Indiana. His dad found him, but it was too late. I want to welcome on right now Sam Tey. He is Sammy's father, also Xander Tey, Sammy's older brother. I can't tell you both enough how much I thank you for coming on, how sorry I am for your loss. This was just 11 days ago. I can't process what you guys are going through, but the best that you can, if you can explain to us how you guys are doing, how the family's doing.
We're just trying to keep it together. The community outreach beyond just this community has kind of reached everywhere. We've kind of been leaning on that as our support. How do you make it through something like this? I don't know. I mean, it's different every day. It's different every second. And an enormous piece of our life's gone.
Xander, how are you?
I'm doing better. It's kind of hard to do it, but I've got the support from a bunch of people, got a bunch of hugs and stuff, and it's really helping.
I'm going to talk about that support because Sammy is inspiring a lot of people right now. But before we get to that, Sam, walk us through how this bullying started and how it got to such a place. When did this begin? What can you tell us about it?
It really started soon after we came here. Sammy's always been a good student and got good grades, did his work. was accepted by the other children. Some reason when we got here, that all changed. Not all of it. He still kept his good grades. He still had a whole bunch of friends, but it was the focus of the wrong people that kind of egged it on to, from it just being saying stuff because he was a little bit short. He had a big, huge smile that would go ear to ear, and you could see every tooth. And I tell him, especially when it started, Sammy, you're 8. You'll grow into your teeth. That's part of growing up. I have a nephew that was up to my waist until he was 13 years old, and then the next thing I know, this guy's 6'5". So I would use examples like that to Sammy to let him know that you're gonna blossom, man. You're gonna change. You're gonna grow. I don't know in a lot of ways if me telling him to turn the other cheek was the wrong answer at this point in time, and I keep asking myself the same question, why didn't I just pull him out of the school? But, we're regular people. We work, Nikki and I both work jobs, and, it's like, it's not even an option to have a luxury like private school or a different option. And then even if we pull our kid out of school, the stuff's still going on. What does that fix, And, it went from his teeth to when, his grades kind of started sliding a little bit, and we found out it was because of his eyesight. We'd take him to get glasses, and he loved them. Yeah. He could see the world better. He absolutely loved it for one day.
Sam, we're showing these pictures of him. He was an adorable kid. And unfortunately, I've covered these cases before, beautiful. And I'm going to tell you on a personal note, do not blame yourself. You cannot do that. This is a terrible situation.
You wouldn't believe, because the support has been amazing.
Yeah.
The trolls have not. We've received several messages about, this is your fault. You left him in the school corporation. How could you do this? You contacted him this many times. Because they, you kind of put your faith in these people that are responsible for, if I had a bunch of kids here, I'd protect them.
Well,
you know what I mean? And I'd also teach them that treating this kid this way is wrong.
Right.
Why don't you do,
Well, here's the thing. And Xander, I want to turn it to you because with Sammy's death, there has been a spotlight put on this. And his memorial was 2 days ago. I understand that he was just buried. Talk about how many people have come forward, people you don't even know, who have been inspired by your brother. What has that been like?
It's been amazing and bad at the same time because it's still sad and stuff. But I like how even though Sammy's gone, it's his story changed a bunch of people, and a bunch of people came to me and told me that Sammy's story changed them and that they feel better now that Sammy's
story helped to make them feel change who they want to be.
Yes, Sammy's story made them help change who they want to be and help them be a better person. And I hope everybody be a better person.
And so many people on social media have changed their profile pictures now with an image of Sammy with the words, "Stop bullying." Sam, I want you to explain to us, you reached out to the school, right? I mean, what did the adults, the teachers, the administrators, what did they know? What were you telling them? And what response did you get from them when you're telling them, my son is being bullied?
We're taking care of this. We got it. You need to watch Sammy's actions, they'd say. Sammy's acting odd at school. He flipped a desk. He ran out of a classroom. He hid under a desk, hid in a closet. Everything that, as soon as I'd hear this, I'd say, he don't do that here. He's, a normal, happy boy. Of course, this is his safe place. This is where he knew that this stuff doesn't happen. But they would constantly tell me we're taking care of this issue. When the bus incident happened, they said that the police was going to be contacted because, it was complete assault. He hit Sammy, broke his glasses. Their response was always pampering now that I look back at it. For one thing, nobody ever thinks that something like this is going to be. So I didn't sit and write it down, and I'm also well aware that kids are kids, and you got kids that are taught to be mean, and most of the kids are not taught that. It's just you have some kids that they're being taught this.
Yeah.
So it's how do you stop that?
Well, that's my question to you, Sam. Have you begun to process your feelings towards these kids, what you want to happen with respect to these kids or their parents?
Now, the biggest thing is I don't blame the kids. Kids are kids at 12 years old. Being the alpha male is important to some people, and some people don't realize that real leaders are not mean people. Real leaders lead with compassion and love. At that age, they realize that they can lead by fear of all these kids who actually probably don't even really like them or like them being around. They just do it so they don't get beat up too. It's later on in life when they figure out that wow, I was wrong. We had instances when I was a child, and later on in life, the guys that did that apologized. And so you see that innocence of a child can be corrupted very easily. They're going to do what they're shown. They're going to do what they live at home. That's who they're going to be. And I mean, while it is, yes, this is a children issue, I don't look at it that way. I don't want no ill will. I don't want nobody thinking that they caused this to Sammy. I don't want him to have a life sentence of believing they killed someone. I know that that's kind of weird to say, but I have a problem processing that because I do look at the innocence of a child. And, we have 9 kids, so we have kids from 10 to 29, just going to turn 30 here in a month. And it's really shown in the educational system and the way that things are done, and zero tolerance bullying. Well, I guess zero tolerance bullying means these days if somebody hits you in the face with an iPad on the bus and breaks your glasses, you're going to get kicked off the bus too.
So let me ask you this.
I don't know what zero tolerance means.
No, I understand. And, it's hard to process how this happened and what happens next. But Sam and Xander, can you share with us the last moments you had with Sammy? If you could tell us what that was like.
Saturday. It's great.
So on Saturday, we went to this place called Penn's, and we played pinball and ping pong and stuff. Ring toss. And then that night, one of the girls that was sleeping over here, one of my sister's friends, got a call from one of the kids that were bullying Sammy, and we were watching a movie, and he was just calling Sammy names and stuff, and later that night, when he went to go upstairs, I told him to come back down here and that I would play Roblox with him because that was his favorite game. And I told him, if you ever need me, I'll be here, and if you need me to get the bullies away from you, I will. And I said goodnight and I love you, and he fell asleep on the couch.
Yeah, we took him to soccer Saturday morning. This is the biggest part that baffles me. Sammy didn't actually play soccer that morning. It was the twins played, and we were there to watch the game, and we left there and we went downtown Indianapolis, and like he said, we played games, we had fun. We got back here late. It was 9:30, so for them that's late. I fired up the grill and we barbecued hot dogs and then roasted marshmallows over the hot coals. Upstairs, our bedroom is hooked to the little family room up there. So the kids are in the family room watching TV just like normal, and we're in our room watching what we're doing like normal. I was blindsided by all this. Even what Xander said. Of course, now I knew that was going on, but then I didn't. It was midnight. It was bedtime anyway. Most of the time they'll sit there, watch TV, and fall asleep. It was just a day.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, Sam.
No, you go right ahead.
I was just going to say, those memories you have of him, and we're showing so many pictures of Sammy smiling, that's what I hope you keep remembering about him. That's what I want people to remember about him.
That's all I see.
Yeah.
That's what I want everybody to know. Yep. I've thought before in cases like this, where was the parent? What was the parent doing? Literally, we're all right here. I was making breakfast. It wasn't an extraordinary morning, It was just a morning. It was just like every other day. It didn't seem anything special about it in the morning. It's so much to where I can't process the thought of Sammy even, like I told Nikki, how does he even know how to do anything like this? Because I don't want to say we shelter them, but we have them all the time. They're always with us. The only time they're not with us is when they're at school. They'll tell you that. On day 3, or 2, that was the longest Sammy had ever been away from us. So, he's 10 years old, and it's not because we keep him in, it's because we're always doing stuff as a family. If I need to go get a gallon of milk, we load everybody in this house up and go get milk. Somebody else was saying something about the whole social media thing. Well, Sammy, he did have a phone, but he might have used it 10, 20 minutes a day sometimes, and it would go sometimes stretch into 4 or 5 days where he wouldn't touch it. He's going outside and playing. That's what he did. I got a pond out back that's a young pond, so it has a whole bunch of little teeny bluegill in it, and he'd go out there and catch bluegill for hours. And, trying to run this through and process everything and make sense of it, there's no making sense of it. The biggest part of it is in my entire life, with my dying breath, I will fight to make sure that no other mother and father has to go through this. And then let alone, and the people that have been supportive have been great. The people that have sent us different things have been absolutely vile.
That's been incredible, the support that you've seen. And by the way, I want to just call this out before we have to let you guys go. Tomorrow night, there's a memorial in Greenfield. It's a candlelight vigil from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. in Depot Park. Sam, Xander, I hope people show up, show you the love.
Can I say one more thing about that?
Please, Sam, yeah.
So the candlelight vigil tomorrow night it's in memory of Sammy. I've heard so many people, because people are up in arms, and I understand there's nobody on this planet madder about this than me. But I don't want this to turn into some, humongous protest that's, this is about loving Sammy.
Right.
If that, I understand we want action, but you're not going to get action hating people. Hate caused this. Hate caused this. And we're not going to fix it with hate. We're not going to fix it being mean. We're not going to fix it being, of course, anger's involved. I'm not going to sit here and say that anger is not involved, but I don't think that
So listen,
evil is going to fix this.
Sam and Xander, that message I think is going to resonate with people. I want to thank you for coming on, talking about Sammy, talking about your experience, sharing this message. From all of us here, we're wishing you all the best, and I'm so sorry for your loss and what you're going through, but thank you so much for coming on tonight. Really appreciate you both.
Thanks, sir.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes, Xander.
I really hope Sammy's story has a change in all of your lives, so nobody will ever have to go through this again, and I hope you remember Sammy forever.
Xander.
Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. Appreciate you both. Take care. I want to get a perspective real quick from Brian Claypool. He's a civil rights attorney, child advocate, some groundbreaking experience in this area. He represented the family of a California girl who took her own life after being relentlessly bullied at school. Brian, thanks for coming on. We don't have a lot of time. I wanted to ask you, is there anything that can be done with respect to the school, the kids, or the parents of the kids?
Hey, Jesse. Sorry to see you again under these circumstances. Look, here's what I would tell Sam and parents across the country. Schools owe a duty to your kids to take care of them as if they were their own kids. It's called in loco parentis. So they have an obligation to protect your kids at school. If you are a parent and your child is being bullied, walk down to that school, hand them a written note. It's got to be in writing, Jesse. Phone calls don't work. Discussions don't work. Give the school written notice of the bullying that's going on with your son or daughter. Make it specific. Who is bullying your son or daughter? How did it happen? What's the effect on your child? Barrage them with written notices, because they then have an obligation to do something about it. And then later on, if something tragically happens like this, you will have recourse. And in the case I had, we actually sued the school district, got a favorable settlement. You know what we did, Jesse, in that case? We unveiled that there was improper training. That's another issue. Training at the schools.
I tell you, Brian, and I wish we had a little bit more time, I'm sure there's going to be more questions about this and how this happened. So I wish we had a little bit more time to talk about the legal consequences of it. But Brian Claypool, thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
No problem.
Now, before we move on from this, I want you to take a good look at this number, 988. I want you to remember it. Take a snapshot of the screen right now. That is the new 3-digit number that anyone can dial from anywhere and will be routed to the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. 988 is a powerful resource for anyone struggling with harmful thoughts or any number of mental health issues. Please remember that number. Still to come, it might be time to take a second look at the Look of the Year beauty pageant. 5 former contestants say magician David Copperfield used his position as pageant judge to sexually harass them when they were underage. One contestant says she was drugged and assaulted by Copperfield. Shocking allegations. Next. Tells about the sexual misconduct allegations against magician David Copperfield. 5 of the 16 women who accused him of harassment and assault, as outlined in a bombshell piece published by The Guardian yesterday, we talked about it in last night's show, they have provided new information, including how Copperfield allegedly targeted them. In 1988 and 1991, Copperfield was a celebrity judge at the Look of the Year modeling contest. And 5 former contestants, all teenagers at the time, say Copperfield used his position as a judge to make inappropriate advances on them, and the women accuse him of unwanted sexual touching and sexual harassment. One former contestant says She was drugged and sexually assaulted by Copperfield in the months after the competition. I want to bring back in Itai Had. He's a reporter with KPIX. In 2018, he broke the Copperfield story while he was a senior reporter with The Wrap. Itai, thanks so much for coming on. So the second round of this, what we're learning about this competition, were you surprised by these new details?
Yeah, I'll tell you this. We kind of assumed that there would be more women out there. We, in fact, talked to several other women after we published our story. But it was surprising to learn that there were 3 other contestants that same year and other contestants in other years. So, yes. And I asked Brittany, the woman that we interviewed, how she felt about it. She said pretty much the same thing. She had assumed there were other women, but not during the competition.
I want to play something. This is a clip from the 1991 pageant. The girls were essentially paraded in front of the judges to win them over. This is a contest. And just so everybody's not caught off guard, 2 of the other judges were Donald Trump and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Can we play this?
Once they arrived in New York, the 58 contestants participated in an exhaustive round of personal interviews designed to help our judges discover what makes each one special.
Your 5-9 reading? Serious, huh? We ran bachelor again tonight before the game. Okay, thank you very much, Amy.
The concentration was intense inside the judging room.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I need to take a shower. I'm not going to lie to you. After seeing that, it feels... Walk me through the fact that we're hearing about this now. We know it's very difficult for people who are victims of sexual harassment or sexual assault to come forward, but the fact that this didn't come out so much before, why do you think it's coming out so much now?
There are a few reasons. One is what you mentioned. It's really hard for people to even talk about it. So even when we interviewed people, including Brittany, years after these events happened, it triggered them so much that some of them had to, retract their statements or just, decide not to participate in the interview. So it's really hard in that aspect to even get people to talk. Then there's the issue, a lot of the women don't feel like they're going to be believed, and many of them didn't. And then there's the third issue. These men are some of the most powerful men in the entertainment industry. You have to think about these young girls their dream is to become a model. They make it all the way to one of the biggest competitions in the world, hosted by the #1 modeling agency in the world, elite modeling agency. And so these people are the judges in that competition. They have a lot of power over them, over their careers. And they also, they groom them. There's a lot of grooming going on there, right? They give them the numbers. They talk to them. I mean, Brittany got phone calls from David Copperfield, she says, to her home in Salt Lake City, where she lived, after the competition. He invited her to all these, he did a lot of grooming in the sense of offering tickets to shows whenever he would stop by the hometowns of some of these women. But he would spend a lot of time flattering them, making them feel very comfortable. So there's also that feeling of, you don't want to betray that person. A lot of these women weren't really aware of the fact that they were being groomed. So all of those things together make it extremely difficult
and by the way,
bring these stories to light.
And just to provide the other side, these are allegations. These are accusations. There are no criminal charges. It's not like he's just been found liable in a court of law about this. I'll see what the repercussions are. I believe he wasn't on his show yet out in Vegas. We'll see how that affects it. We'll see what happens next. It's just a very, very disturbing account of what has happened through the years. And clearly a spotlight has been put on it. So we'll see what happens. But Itai Had, thank you so much for coming back on. Appreciate it. All right. A suspected serial killer in Oregon could be set free in just over 3 weeks as authorities scramble behind the scenes to make sure that doesn't happen. NewsNation's Brian Enton has been on the ground in Portland all week. He's going to join me live next with brand new details on just what type of man this accused killer might be. There are just 3 weeks and 1 day left until a suspected serial killer in Oregon could be released from prison. Jesse Lee Calhoun, finishing a sentence for theft, burglary, and assault. His sentence had initially been commuted because he actually helped with the wildfires back in the day, but then it was revoked. You see, Calhoun is a person of interest in a string of murders in and around the Portland area from last year. But so far, he still faces no charges for those murders. And in 22 days, he could walk free. We know what kind of crimes he was locked up for, what kind of crimes he's suspected of committing. But tonight, NewsNation senior national correspondent Brian Entin was able to dig even deeper into who exactly this man is in an exclusive interview with the suspected killer's ex-girlfriend. He joins me live from Portland, now with the latest. Brian, good to see you. What'd you learn today?
Yeah, Jesse, it's not every day you talk to a suspected serial killer's ex-girlfriend, and I'm not even sure whether to call her an ex-girlfriend or a girlfriend because they have a very complicated relationship that is ongoing. But she had a lot to say, things that she found strange about him, including things that she says happened in bed. Take a listen.
But yeah, he liked different things different things than I was used to.
What other kinds? Was it anything?
He would write on me, and
he would write on you.
Yeah, with marker or whatever. And we had rules though, for the bedroom. And over his his basic rule was what happens in the bedroom stays in the bedroom. I don't feel that way about you. He would write whore or slut or whatever on my body, and that was what turned him on, I guess. So.
Did that make you feel strange?
No, actually, it wasn't that strange. Sometimes I would tell him what to write, or I'd write on him, too, or I'd write on myself, you know. So.
Was he ever overly physical or abusive in that way, or?
There was a few times where, things weren't going the way that he was hoping to go, and he had thrown me to the side, but on the bed, and just he would always say if he got mad. If he stubbed his toe or something, he would get mad, and be don't talk to me. Just know that I can't be talked to for a few minutes, when I get angry, just let me be, and then we'll discuss it later, So, those times that, I was thrown on the bed and he would be angry or whatever, saying that I did something to, mess things up, he would come back and apologize for that, so.
What did you think when it surfaced that he was a person of interest, possible serial killer?
It was, I don't even know what I thought then, because, it's been a while, but it was shocking. I was in shock, still in shock. But when I first saw the article before that, so when he, and also because my place had been raided, or searched for 3 days, and they left warrants here that explained why they were here, I kind of had a heads up and an idea of what, was going to happen. So I had about a month to process that before that came out on the news.
All right, Brian, interesting to say the least. What did she make of the accusations, more from that?
They had actually, by the way, met on Facebook, just so you know. They'd been together for quite some time. They met online. And she says that she got this gut feeling that the accusations may have been true because she says that Jesse Calhoun knew two of the victims.
I still had it in the back of my mind that there was something that he probably had something to do with it from the get-go.
You felt that?
Yeah. When I went to confront him about it, I walked up to him, I hugged him, he was outside here, and I said, is there something you want to talk to me about? How's your mental health doing, what's going on with you? I didn't know, how to present anything to him, because that was where my head was at, and so that started a couple fights, or a couple, not our fights, but, some distance between us for that first week, and he, to say he was acting funny, I would say, yeah, he's acting funny, but he kept saying, well, if my own girlfriend thinks that I did, something, that I had something to do with this, then how come, then how could anybody else believe that I, didn't, And that was before anything, before he got arrested, and,
So he could sense that you
Well, yeah, because I asked him, is there something you want to tell me? What do you say to that? I had no idea. He didn't have anything to tell me. He was just like, what? That was a weird question, And then I explained to him
and
that,
you lived together. Looking back, does it scare you thinking this could have been you?
I haven't put too much thought into that. There's been times, but that I thought, well, what if it was this time? The first meeting that we had after the Plaid Pantry meeting, what if that was going to be my time? But, because I have a hard time placing him in that role.
And Brian, I understand she still has some of his things. Did she say why?
Yeah, that kind of surprised me. We were doing the interview. She's obviously conflicted, and I saw men's clothing there, and I walked over. This is what she said.
What is all of this?
Well, this is a bunch of crap. This is like his clothes, which got taken down the day that, out of our closet, the day that I heard about the DNA being on one of the victims. So it's just a bunch of stuff. It's just stuff. There's tools, and his little art area was over here. So this has been, oh my God, it's been a year.
So why do you keep all of this?
Because I'm overwhelmed, and it's just too much to deal with. Like, he wants me to sell stuff, to put money on his books and to have money, and I'm like, okay, I'll get to that. And then it just ends up piled up, and I'm like, man, I look like a hoarder. So I'm not. But I just keep thinking I'm going to do something with it. And then, he's like, possibly getting out, so maybe he's going to need his clothes, He's lost a lot of weight, though, so.
You sound so conflicted, because you were saying you think
your gut tells you
he did it.
Right.
Your gut tells you that he did it.
Do you see how crazy it is?
But now you're saying you're
so
keeping
he might
his stuff,
get out,
and then you might sell stuff for him.
It's been a hard road, let me tell you, difficult road. I was keeping his stuff for a while, like in the closet and, everything, because it just felt like he was still here. As volatile as bad as the cheating was, like his love was stronger, felt stronger, but I don't know that he ever actually loved me, because if he's, I don't know, it's confusing. The whole thing's been confusing, the whole relationship in general.
Definitely provides a lot more context. Brian Enton, great reporting. Good to see you. Thank you so much for giving us that.
Thanks, Jesse.
All right, so who doesn't love to order stuff on an app, have it show up at your front door a few minutes later? We save time, we save gas. What's the worst that can happen, right? Well, order gets messed up. That's what I thought until I heard what happened to Angie Harmon, a famous actor you might know from Law & Order, because, ironically, Harmon says an Instacart driver shot and killed her family dog. Now she wants justice. That story's next.
Did I get eggs? Where are my keys?
Memory and thinking issues keep piling up? It may be due to a buildup of amyloid plaques in the brain. Visit morethannormalaging.com.
Back on Easter Sunday, actor Angie Harmon, who you might know from Law & Order or Rizzoli and Isles, was at home in North Carolina when she placed a grocery delivery order through Instacart. She says she texted with a driver named Merle, whose profile picture was that of an older woman, but later a tall and intimidating young man showed up with her delivery. But that wasn't the worst of it, because here is what happened next.
I heard Emery screaming, my youngest, Emery. I just heard her say, "Did you just shoot my dog?" And I was like, what? I was screaming at Avery to call 911. And when I said that, he said, no, I'm calling 911. I'll do it.
Your dog tried to bite me. I'm sitting here calling y'all. I'm texting y'all. I said, can you please put the dogs up? I'm on the phone with 911 now. So the dogs went off. So I just tried to hurry up and went on the porch, and the dog's trying to bite me. So what am I supposed to do? One of them left. I shot one of them.
And Harmon's dog, a beagle mix named Oliver, later died at the vet's office. The driver claimed self-defense. No charges were filed. Harmon suing both Instacart and the driver. Instacart says, and I quote, "While we cannot comment on pending litigation, we have no tolerance for violence of any kind, and the shopper account has been permanently deactivated from our platform." Let me bring in Rich Schoenstein, litigator, legal analyst, best hair in television. Good to see you. All right, let's start with Instacart first. Are they on the hook? I mean, does she have a case against Instacart?
Well, her case against Instacart is that she got the wrong order, meaning not the wrong food, she got the wrong driver. She was expecting a middle-aged woman named Merle, and she got this young guy wielding a gun. She says Instacart should be liable, but here's the problem, Jesse. Her complaint is 11 pages long. Instacart's terms and conditions are 22 pages long. They contain an arbitration provision, a pretty serious limitation on liability, and expressly provide that Instacart has no liability for third-party providers, meaning the drivers.
But okay, if you're, I don't know, what does that mean in terms of the driver getting something wrong with your order, not the shooting the dog? Well, I mean, don't they have an obligation about who they hire and who they employ?
Sure, I think that's her best argument, that they have an obligation on who they employ, especially if they're sending the wrong person, right? She's expecting a middle-aged woman named Merle. Who is this guy, and how did he end up on her doorstep, and why did he have a gun? Instacart says no guns. Instacart says we do background checks, and yet this happened.
What about the driver? You know, he's claiming self-defense. I had no choice. This dog's coming after me. Is he on the hook for with Angie Harmon?
I mean, it sounds like a pretty easy case against the driver. There's no evidence that I've heard of that this dog did anything aggressive towards him. There's no evidence of a bite. There's no evidence that he tried to get away from it before shooting. So if all he did was shoot first and ask questions later, he's in some trouble.
But does she have an obligation to make sure that her dog is, you know, locked up or is on a, you know, somewhere not in a position to go after the driver when she knows people are coming to her house?
Everybody's got an obligation to behave reasonably. So if your dog has behavior problems, then you got to put it on a leash or put it in the house or do something. But if your dog is a nice dog that's never caused a problem in your whole life or the dog's life, you're not on notice. It's not, you don't expect to do anything more to restrain the dog.
I think she's suing for $25,000. Is this really about the money, or is it more about the principle?
The $25,000 is just a jurisdictional minimum to get in this court. She's suing for punitive damages, but I don't believe for a minute she's after the money. I think she's trying to make a message here. I think she's upset. Somebody came to her home on Easter Day and shot her dog in front of her children. I understand her being angry about that.
Yeah, it's a really, really sad case. So real quick, you don't think that she would agree to a settlement? She would want to take this to trial, prove a point?
I don't know. It sounds like she wants to prove a point, right. So the settlement would have to include some kind of formal apology and statement.
It's a really sad case. I feel terrible for her. I mean, she was hysterically crying. And I feel really bad for the family losing a dog, but losing a dog this way, really tough. So we'll see where it goes. Rick Schoenstein, good seeing you. Thanks so much. Really appreciate it. All right, so now we're going to be talking a little bit more. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back right after this.
Adulthood. That's why vaccines matter so much. For 40 years, Rotary and partners have delivered vaccines globally. Like here and even here, in your neighborhood and around the world, Rotary is ensuring children grow up safe from preventable diseases.
You said you'd never buy your kid candy from the checkout aisle. Or forget extra diapers. You'd never lick your thumb to clean their face. Never, ever become a minivan mom. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk in temperatures as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Never happens. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
The key to unlock the next breakthrough in cancer research could be sitting in your driveway. Stand Up to Cancer's vehicle donation program makes it easy to turn your unwanted vehicle into funding to support innovative cancer research. So when you're looking to get rid of your old car, truck, motorcycle, RV, or boat, why not donate it to Stand Up to Cancer? You can be a driving force in cancer research. Donate your car today. Visit standuptocancer.org/cars to learn more.
Out here in the middle of all these acres, it can feel like you're the only person on Earth. And sometimes, that's how it feels when you're going through tough times. Trouble sleeping, your mind racing. So what do? We get help. There are people in our community who are here for us. Sometimes, just talking to someone can make all the difference in the world. Find more information at loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
You're listening to NewsNation on the go. Available 24/7 in the NewsNation app, or just say, Alexa, play NewsNation.
National Wreaths Across America Day is Saturday, December 14th. You can join in the mission to remember our fallen heroes, honor those who currently serve and their families, and teach younger generations about the value of freedom. A $17 donation to Wreaths Across America sponsors a fresh balsam remembrance wreath. These wreaths have become a symbol of America's respect for those who have served and no longer walk with us. Sponsor a wreath today. Visit wreathsacrossamerica.org.
999 to remove the stigma and normalize conversations around mental health and substance abuse. I want to ensure that we never lose another Jared.
Go to livefree999.org to learn more. If you need urgent support, text LF999 to 741-741.
When I grow up, I want to be a ballerina.
Because dancing makes me happy. I get to entertain people, and nothing makes me feel more like me.
PI, a defect of the immune system, affects millions of children. Early and accurate diagnosis and treatment give children like Olivia a chance to achieve their dreams.
It takes a great team to put on a show. It also takes a great team of caring people to keep a dream alive. And now my dreams are coming true.
For more information, visit the Jeffrey Modell Foundation at info4pi.org.
Hi, I'm Gary LaVox. One thing you know about me is I used to be the lead singer of Rascal Flatts. But what you might not know is I now use my voice to support paralyzed veterans of America. Did you know buses and trains are accessible, but airplanes aren't? It is why I support PVA. Today, PVA is fighting for accessible air travel, a basic civil right for our nation's disabled veterans and all people with disabilities. Our nation's heroes fought for your independence. So join me in the fight for theirs at PVA.org.
Great show tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching us. You know, it's a privilege for me to be able to sit in here. But I mean, think about the topics that we covered. David Copperfield, 16 women now coming out against him, saying that they are victims of abuse that went on for years and nobody seemed to really pay attention to it. I mean, look, these are allegations. We're going to see where it ultimately goes. We had Angie Harmon now suing because of the death of her dog. That's absolutely tragic. We'll see if Instacart's going to be on the hook. Brian Enton still chilled to hear about speaking to that woman who was dating a suspected serial killer. Will he be released? But the one thing that I know is going to stay with me, I'm imagining it's going to stay with you, is how we started the case, how we started the show with the death of Sammy Tey, that 10-year-old boy who killed himself. And I just want you to know, remember this image, remember how much impact he had, and remember what his family said. And in all of this, be kind to each other. Suicide Crisis Hotline 988. Have a good night. Cuomo next.
Hey, I'm Chris Cuomo. You ready to get after it? Here's the question. All the news tonight seems